there's one quality that is a common denominator in people that are good at rigging kayaks, and that is a willingness or maybe just a comfort level with not knowing what the heck you're doing and trying something anyways. We're about to definitely do some of that with this boat, which is a Riot Kayaks Mako 14. It has a transom, like a vertical, like you would clamp a motor on this way. It's got a area for the rudder, for the pedal drive, which I don't have in it. I'm not going to run it with the pedal drive. And it's got some track on the inside. And really all of that are some of the things that are either in my way or actually going to be an asset in mounting this, the Torqeedo Ultralight motor mount bracket. That's our first step. I think foot control steering, pretty wide open up there. It's not going to be a real challenge. But mounting this bracket back here definitely is a challenge. Let's try it. So I've looked at this a couple different times trying to figure out, hey, am I gonna preserve this? I think it has good function. I think this is actually a good boat that you can, with that big sweeping bow, take out over some big waves. Good big water boat for sure. But when water comes in, you kind of want something back here as a fence to keep things from washing out. So I do want to preserve it, but I also don't think I want the motor this far back. I'd like it to be in here. The game plan, at least for now, and this may modify, is to cut a notch here to get this not all the way down, but low enough that I can bolt this to an adapter plate that I will make. I'm going to make it using, this is just polyethylene sheeting or marine board or starboard or whatever you want to call it. I got it at a local plastic supply place called buyplastic.com. Just went up to their place in Pennsylvania, picked up that, and picked up this polyethylene rod, which I may chop and drill a hole through and put as 4 spacers. The idea is that with this, I can put something down here that raises it up some to the level where I don't have to cut all the way across there. I can leave some of that there and then go straight up, such that I can fit this down in there, but like in, and it's still, a fence on the sides, and I don't know, things would have to clear the side of the mount to be washed out. But more than anything, I really want to utilize these tracks and to be able to tie into that and have some part of this starboard material go forward and lock into there. And then I think I can also drill into this a little bit and secure it in 1, 2, 3, 4 places. This, which that will go on top of it. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to create a form. And I just have this cardboard box that I'm just going to open up and utilize. I'm going to cut it up with the scissors. I'm going to lay it down there and make sure it's, symmetrical. So when we lay it in there, we're going to basically draw around things like that, this round hatch that's here. Make sure that we're as far forward as we need to get, with this track, and that it reaches down here and creates that 4-bolt pattern right here. Trimming away with a rough sort of idea of what this should be. I will trim it as I need to go. Let's see. Center is about like that. fold this in half. And we're going to match what I just did there. And this is just a rough form that we're going to use, and we're going to, when I'm happy with it, we're going to superimpose it and trace it on that piece of marine board. Alright, that is an adapter plate in the making. It's really just a wax pencil here. Grab that from my rod building stuff. And when I cut this up, this is going to be my guide, at least for some rough cuts. I may come in later and do some other stuff, but that's the beginning. All right, so how are we cutting that, and especially this out? Certainly table saw isn't going to do the job. I may go grab my Dremel set and see if a cutting wheel will get this done. Actually, I may make some rough cuts just with that while I have this. Then I'll see what I can do with the Dremel. We'll cut that out with a cutting wheel, and I think I may just use a grinder to round the edges, and that's an adapter plate. So that's the cutting wheel that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to notch it right in here and see if I can do this on a curve. Coming at it from the back side. That should, yep, just separate. There we go. Got that plug knocked out. And we got that spot for the hatch. We're getting there. All right, I got a little grinding wheel here. I'm just gonna clean up some of these rough edges. All right, I came back here and looked at this with regard to, drilling the holes there in the adapter plate, and kind of thought better of it. I think the next thing I need to do is to notch this and really measure out, with that China marker where I'm coming down through here to remove this section. I'm probably going to do that again with the Dremel wheel, the cutting wheel. And then once I do that, then I can cut my spacers to get a little bit more height. I don't know, maybe an inch and a half, to get this lifted up enough such that when you're moving, it's up at this level instead of down at this level with the mount dragging. So let's work on this first. So I'm measuring this to just see the overall length is about 21 inches. So we're doing 10.5 is our center line, and we'll look at the width of, let's mark that first, the width of the bracket. So 10.5 is there, which looks right. Roughly centering that. Yeah. Looks like we're going here and here. So when we come down from there, let me see if I can find something to use a straight edge to make myself a box. Give myself that width up from the bottom. Yeah, let's do that. I think I'm using just the mount itself as a straight edge. Stop there. There. So we're gonna cut this out to, so what's the level? About like that. Yep. Down there, straight across. This is the box we're cutting out so that this mount can sit right down there. All right, here we go. That's it. Man, that was butchering. All right, so that goes flush there, and that's still needs some spacers, but it'll work. I gotta trim these up. I got a different attachment. Man, that's hot. I'm gonna clean this up. I know if I was watching this video, the question I would have is, Jeff, why didn't you just take this out? I can't figure it out. They're like little track nuts in there and hardware in there. There's like a little window. I don't know how you get into that. So I left it in place. This is gonna work. Just gotta clean it up a bit. Leave it alone. All right, so what we're gonna do next, I'm gonna cut this rod such that there are spacer about that much, just to make sure that when this comes down on it, you know, it's on there flush, or at least it's locked down onto that adapter plate. You know, I think in order to do this, when I removed this, I didn't want to remove so much of it that there was nothing left, that this was just sitting there. I wanted it all connected, so I think we've achieved that. All right, let's make some spacers. It's about that much, but go ahead and mark what it needs to be. That's my cut line. I'll just make 4 of them, just like that. There's 1. And there's 4. Just need to drill some holes through there, and we got our spacers. What I want to point out is that I'm using a 3/8 bit, even though my hardware is going to go through there is a 1/4. So I just want to make it easier on myself, because not everything's going to align perfectly, and I don't need this to be super tight fitting. clean up the back of that. That will be the spacer. So bolt will go through there, and that will take up the gap between the adapter plate, which is a little bit lower, and that little lip that we just cut in the transom. All right, the next move is to put some holes in there and there. We're gonna slide these YakAttack Mighty bolts in. Looks like they kind of slide in the side there. It's gonna go through a hole that we're gonna drill there, and then we put the wing knob on top, and that's attached. I may also sink some hardware in here, but that may be in conjunction with putting, well, it's definitely gonna have the spacers, but it may go through the mount, the spacers, this board, and this piece here. We'll see. But I'm gonna start with attaching these. And slide that down flush. Roughly 4 spacers like that. This is going to sit here like this, and we're going to want to go through a whole bunch of stuff, but it's going to be locked in there really secure when we do get it all locked up. Alright, so I have a problem where this lines up that the bracket really wants to sit with these rear holes as far back, and I actually twisted these that are kind of off center to go as far in that direction as possible, because the ones, if I go straight through there, it's gonna come through, oh man, like right on that seam. So what I need to do is to sink into that just barely. So those front attachments are going to go through both the adapter plate, which is above this little thin one, and this thin one. They need to be tight. Like it needs to be probably a little bit less than 1/4 inch, so that they thread into these 2 plates, which are the one we made and then this one. The rear ones can go all the way through here, and I can put backing hardware. So I'm feeling down there, so I do not want to go through that orange hull. And I'll go just a little bit into, yep, I can feel it poking through the real thin one on the bottom. And I'll let it bottom out there. And let's see how these line up. That's just starting to grab. I can stop it there. Same there. It's not quite snug. I don't want it snug yet. I want to do these rear ones first. Go ahead and drill those. And I got longer bolts for the rear ones, because they are going to go all the way through. They're not just going to sink into the plastic and use the plastic to, they're going to have backing hardware. Okay. I'll drop the second long one in there. I honestly think this would hold the motor, even under power, but we're going to get hardware on the back. Get in there. All right, let's, we got this guy poking out. I'm going to get a washer and a locking nut on there. Do the same thing for the other side. Closing the gap. Let's get the other one going. Yep. Okay. I could pick up the boat by that now. It is secure. Let's just stick a motor on there to see what we're working with here. Just to make sure that the spacing I thought we were going to have is going to work. I think it is. But it also leads us to the next step, was to figure out, okay, where are the steering lines coming out of this hull? I do believe that this was the hard part. The rest of it is pretty straightforward as far as running the steering tubes. We'll go ahead and cover that too. I'm probably going to pick a point in here because I do have access. Do I have access? I didn't actually open that. Yes, I have access to the inside of the hull to run my tubes through there. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be there and there. We'll run tubes up here and get foot control steering, probably with 90-degree adapters, YakAttack 90-degree adapters here. I do have a Innovative Sportsman foot control steering kit, which is basically the tubing we're going to run, the Spectra cord that runs through there, and then these recreational style foot brace recreational with rudder control. This is sliding foot peg is what this is. So we'll put those somewhere up in here and here, and throttle somewhere. Yeah. Then we'll go test this thing. All right, we got it rigged up. I put the throttle on there. I put the foot control steering, the sliding foot pegs, and I also did a motor lift. So kind of sped through that. Didn't really want to video it because I think I've videoed that in lots of other videos. If you go look through the Torqeedo Ultralight install playlist, there's 3 or 4 dozen videos that show you how to run the tubing and the Spectra cord and the 90-degree adapters. Really what this video was about is using this marine board and this high-density polyethylene rod as spacers, how to do a really challenging install. You know, we had something in the way here. We wanted to link into the existing track, and we were able to do that. So, gonna get this on the water tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and get our speed and range data to see how fast this Riot Mako 14 goes with the Torqeedo Ultralight 1103.
A lot of boat.
right, I'm here at my test lake, Lake Marburg in Pennsylvania. Got everything set up. I'm actually carrying the cart with me because I figure any weight up front is going to help this boat. It's as the wind pushes it along here. You can see that the bow really sweeps up quite a bit in the front. The seat position is pretty far back, and you know, we got our motor, I think, at an appropriate level. We're gonna find out. Let's go get some speed and range data. All right, got my motor lift fleet there. Got that already got in the water. Got some foot control steering going on right here, so you can tell right off the bat, fairly responsive. Got it at the right level. These are the YakAttack 90-degree adapters that make it possible on that track, along with the innovative Sportsman foot control steering kit. We'll go ahead and mash this thing. Good amount of water coming up through the drive hole. We'll see how that clears. Heading into the wind, not really a fair test. We're going to find some calmer areas further up here that are blocked from the wind, but we got 6.1. I would expect a little bit more out of that, out of a 14-foot kayak. I think that the main difference maker is that how far back the seat has to be for the geometry of this massive front tank. That takes up a lot of room, and I don't think my length of wetted surface is adequate to have this perform really like a 14-foot kayak should. 6.1. Should be mid-6s or higher. If I got my seat position further, I'm going to test that here in a little bit. I'm going to scoot up and get my own weight forward, push that nose down, and really let it eat. So it's a busy Labor Day here on Marburg. One of the reasons I like coming to Marburg, though, is that there's always some higher bank with trees adjacent to some deep water. I need water that's deeper than, say, 8-9 feet to really get the maximum speed, and I do need some lane that is not really affected by the wind. The wind's kind of coming in here, but it's mostly out in the open, so I'm going to use this lane right here to get my test data. Let's get a top end speed first. I kind of figured, actually we're up to 6.3 now. I thought it would climb a little further out of that hole, but it's 6.2, it touched 6.3, and they didn't stay there. So 6.2 mile per hour is the top end speed on this boat. I'll go down through the rest of the, the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put that data up. You can look at that to get an idea of range at a variety of speeds. 6.2. Fun boat, got a lot of maneuverability in it with the foot control steering. I think I got that dialed in real good. I will tell you, I think the best application for this boat is when you have to do a surf launch at the beach, because it's got that big upswell on the front and a huge front hatch, or front well, but you can put a fish bag right there. It's right where I have my cart. I think it's actually going to perform better by putting a bunch of weight up here. I'm going to see if I can get greater than 6.2 by just putting a bunch of weight there, putting a bunch of rocks and stuff in there. see if we get above the 6.2 I was able to get just solo with my weight back in the seat. I think it's going to trim it so it runs flatter. I bet it runs faster. Let's find out. All right, so more weight in a boat really should slow down a boat, but weight placement really affects the trim on how high or low the bow is. When it's at speed, you want it as flat on the water as possible. That's what I'm trying to achieve here with these rocks. So for sure, with the boat empty, without me sitting in it, the bow is riding down some. I get my weight on it, and we'll see how things change. All right, put our kill switch on there. I should probably get my paddle too. Kill switch on there, power it up. Let's see what happens here. Really plowing, but yeah, it's going 6.3, 6.4. So yeah, that's 6.4 mile an hour. So while the front really looks horrible in terms of how it's plowing water, we've got faster by adding weight, and it really comes down to weight distribution and making sure that you have the longest wetted surface. The length of wetted surface is really the most important thing, I think. You know, there's other variables. There's seat placement and weight distribution and the overall weight of the kayak and how wide or narrow it is. But if you had to boil it down to one thing, when you're at speed, how long is that length of wetted surface? This boat at 14 feet long should have been a candidate for much better speeds than the 6.2. I've countered that by putting the weight in there to make it, well, which way am I riding? Instead of riding bow up like this, I got that to equal out some. And then you have the motor stern squat and it returns some of it like this. But my point is, it's, you know, with that much power on the back, you need to keep a long length of wetted surface. And, you know, was able to do that. I think this boat actually has a pretty good application for someone that wants to surf launch, to get out, you know, beyond breaking waves, because that upswinging bow that's really kind of big allows you to climb the surface of a breaking wave. That's going to be helpful in that situation. Also, you have a massive carrying capacity for when you have your fish bags that's full of ice, and it's right here in front of you. So I think it's a good boat for if you're doing a meat haul and you want to carry a bunch of fish back there, you know, up there. I think that is a very good use of the Riot Kayaks Mako 14. So that's my installation and then speed and range assessment. Thanks for watching. See ya.